Hello. We're here. It was looking a little sketchy. We're reeling it back in. Tennessee's still fucked, but everybody else seems to be okay. We had a little bit of a scare late last night with the COVID stuff with the Saints player. He seems to be okay. The Chiefs-Pats game, as of right now, seems to be a go. It's either going to be Monday or Tuesday, so make sure your commissioner has contingency plans in place. And guys, let's just start off with that real quick. Again, I think this should be left up to your commissioner. Your commissioner should have something in place in terms of having kind of like a backup guy queued up just in case it gets pushed back, because we also thought we were getting Titans Steelers with a Monday or Tuesday game. That obviously didn't happen. So make sure your Steelers and your Titans are out of your lineups. But what are you guys doing right now? Let's say you're just in a work league, a family league. The commissioner just is like, I guess I'll set it up, but I really don't give a shit all that much. What are you guys doing with these, with the Chiefs and Pats players? And I guess I'm being a bad host right now. We have Robby. You all know Robby, but we have our guy, Ben Katz, joining us for the first time here on the TFA airwaves. You can find him on Twitter at BenLK_FF.
That is right. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me, guys.
No, man, glad you could finally jump on and join us. So, Ben, I'll let you jump off. What are you doing with the Pats and Chiefs players? Again, if you're just in like your general work home league, what are you doing with those if there is no contingency plan in place? And if you're watching live, jump in and start dropping your questions, and we'll get to those. Unless your name is CJ Lang, we'll get to you as soon as we can.
For me, it really comes down to kind of like what you think your team is going to do this week. And if you need one of those boom plays and like you have a Tyreek Hill or a CEH where you're really like, if you're not playing them, you're almost definitely going to lose, I say you gamble on it. You throw them into your lineup and just hope for the best. But if you were projected to win, you have a bunch of strong guys elsewhere in the lineup and you feel good about what your team is, and maybe the other team has some injuries or some guys that aren't going to play this week, I would go for a floor play, throw out a Mark Ingram or some other guy that's going to have at a minimum of 6 points, and just say like, all right, like I know it's not great, it won't be pretty, but I at least am going to have points here and I should win the week anyway.
Yeah, we got some updates here from Schefter and Ian Rappaport. Both teams, the Chiefs and the Pats, both did their tests today, and there were no positive tests. So as of right now, it's looking like it will go on Monday. So I'm kind of with Ben, where I will start up the Chiefs guys that you need to roll with. On the Patriots side, with Cam being out, I'm pretty low, honestly, on that offense in general. Like,
I sadly am too.
Yeah, is it Stidham? Is it Hoyer? Like, does it matter? Like, I'm probably not rolling out Edelman if I can avoid it. Harry's off my list. And then, Sony just hasn't been getting the snap share. Rex is now splitting time with James White. It's just a freaking mess in New England there. So I'm probably sitting most Patriots, and I'll fire up all my Chiefs, assuming that, nothing else comes out in the next 2 hours.
Ben, I know this is a dumb question to ask just in general, but how do you feel about the Patriots backfield after Burkhead just dropped a hammer? James White is back this week. Do you have, again, this is something that we just ponder. It's almost like in one of your college courses, your theories, where it's just like, well, we can talk about it. It doesn't really matter what the answer is, but let's have a discussion. Do you have any feelings on that Patriots backfield?
So for those that don't know, I'm a huge Patriots fan. I'm not touching any of them. I have a signed Sony jersey in my living room. Like, I love the Patriots. I love Sony. I don't love him as a fantasy asset. The only guy that I would really want to roll out, and that's like really only in a pinch, not somebody that I'm going to rely on, is James White. If Stid the Kid is going to start at quarterback, there'll probably be some checkdowns, and James White's going to soak those up. So, like, I'll start him if I have to, but I'm not excited about it.
Stid the Kid.
You were doing so good until you said Stid the Kid.
I personally loved it. I'm all in.
We very well could be Hoyer out there, so get some old man strength in there too. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens.
Stid the Kid or Hoy the Boy, we don't know. It might be we don't know. Maybe it's both. Maybe they flex Stid out because he can run. We don't know.
A little taste of action.
CJ Lang in the chat. Rojo or Daryl Henderson. Robby, I'll throw this one to you first, since you are the the home Rojo truther. How do you feel about this one with Fournette being out?
Yeah, even with Fournette being out, this is a not great matchup for Rojo. Chargers are bottom of the league in allowing points to the running back position. We've seen Rojo have a little bit of flashes here and there, but honestly, I think he has not looked like someone who I'm willing to start. I'm willing to start him, but if I can avoid it, I'm going somewhere else. And then Darrell Henderson against that Giants run defense, that's a guy where this is not close to me. I have Darrell Henderson as running back 14, I think, this week, and Rojo's at the bottom end of my running back twos, just because we have so many other guys. Henry's out, Connor's out, so he's made his way into running back 2 territory, but I'm not stoked to start him, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Darrell Henderson, I think the game script is going to go his way, especially with Akers sitting out this week. He's going to get the touches. He's going to get the volume. The Giants are not a great defensive team. I'm starting him everywhere that I have him, no question.
With there are a lot of high totals for the week. I mean, we're looking right now, Cardinals Panthers at 52, Browns Cowboys at 55.5, Vikings Texans 53, Saints Lions 53.5, Seahawks Dolphins at 55.5, Buffalo Las Vegas 52.5, Falcons Packers 56.5. Out of those matchups, actually, Robbie, let's just start with your Cowboys. Baker Mayfield is one of my favorite streams for the week because of the matchups for both sides. These are teams that are better against the run, awful against the pass. There's injuries in both secondaries. What are you doing with Gallup and Lamb? Obviously, Gallup had his strong showing last week. These seem to be guys that are always close in rankings. Do you have a feel? Do you think we start to see more of Gallup, a little less of Lamb, or do you think it's just going to be one of those things where each week we're kind of going back and forth on both of these guys, and maybe Cooper and Dalton Schultz, maybe, I guess, is somehow a thing because it's 2020. So how do you feel about this game?
Yeah, it's hard to sit these Dallas wide receivers when the Cowboys are throwing as much as they have been. Obviously, they've been playing catch up in the past 2 games. With the Seahawks last week and then Falcons 2 weeks ago. But I think this is a team that's going to continue to throw a lot. And so if you're talking about both of these wide receivers that are talented and can get separation and down the field, I'm okay with starting either of them. On the flip side of the ball, you were talking about Baker a little bit. I really like Jarvis Landry this week. The Cowboys are just horrendous against slot wide receivers. Going back to obviously Tyler Lockett last week, just going off. Who were the other guys that they faced? Russell Gage gave up a touchdown in 46 yards, 6 receptions in week 2. Robert Woods and Kupp in week 1. So it even goes back to last season. So if you're looking at that side of the ball, I'm really on Jarvis over OBJ this week. It looks like Chidobe Awuzie is going to be back in play. And so I think the Cowboys secondary is maybe going to be a little bit healthier than they were last week. So not as high on OBJ as maybe some other people will be. But yeah, I think the Cowboys wide receivers, you're trying to fire them up if you can.
If you missed the prop talk episode that fuck your co-host Tom, Jesus, that Tom did last night, the first one I took was Dak Prescott over 25.5 completions. So that's one that I like. His over under for passing yards on FanDuel anyway was like 317.5. So I just think that's gonna be one of those things where it's just hopefully anyway, because we've been in this spot a couple of times this year where it's like, all right, smash spot, start everybody, and then it ends up being like a 40-point total in the week. So that is a game that I'm definitely going to be keeping my eye on. Our guy Philip is in the chat with us. He's been rocking with us all year, so we appreciate you jumping in, man. We need 2 out of these names: Antonio Gibson, Chris Carson, Mike Davis, James White, or David Montgomery. Ben, I'll throw that to you first. You were kind of talking about James White would be the guy you would play if you absolutely had to. Out of these names, I don't think you have to. So who are you rolling here with this group? And again, Philip needs 2 out of here.
So this is a solid group of guys. There are some guys I like more than others. I think that the first one that I like the most is actually Mike Davis. He's coming off 2 games in a row where he got 8 and 9 targets, and last week he got 13 carries as well. I think he's going to get the volume in a game that's supposed to be relatively high scoring. So if that's the case, I think he should be a lock, especially in PPR formats. The second guy, I really like Carson. I know that he's hurt. He's coming off of like the knee strain or the sprain. And he could be limited in touches. He was limited in practice this week a little bit. But if he's out there, I think that he's going to be a lock for the goal line touches at the very least. And in a game against Miami where they should be scoring a lot of points, I think that he could definitely still sneak in a touchdown, even if he is playing limited snaps. So those are my 2.
Robbie, what say you? Are you feeling the same? Do you have someone else you're thinking about in this lineup?
Yeah, like Ben, I think Mike Davis is the clear start for sure there. They're using him just a lot like Christian McCaffrey. He's not quite getting the same snap percentage, but he's getting the same receiving work, which is just great to see. And then, yeah, it's pretty close. Carson is a little bit more risky. I think if you're looking at a better floor play, David Montgomery should get just a lot of the work there, a little bit more receiving work with Cohen out for the year. But yeah, it's really close between Carson and Montgomery. I could go either way there.
I think out of that, I'm going to go Davis, and I mean, for the brand, I have to go Monty. Sooner or later, I'm going to be right. He's getting all the touches, like Robbie said, with Cohen being out. Hopefully, that leads to a little more passing game involvement. But I could also see myself watching that game and just being 1,000% tilted by Cordarrelle Patterson.
Oh, for sure.
It's 2020, and I am fully expecting the full-on CPAT tilt because why not? So let's go to what Mason's joining us. What's up, man? If you have any questions, go ahead and drop them in. We'll get to you. What are some other games that you guys are looking at? We were just talking about Chris Carson. Let's go to that Seattle Miami game. Like I said, that is a 55.5 over under. Russ has been absolutely cooking. We've wanted it. It is finally here. We got it again because it's 2020. I'm sure if this was 2021, we're going back to Chris Carson getting the rock 38 times a game. But it's 2020. Pete Carroll's all fucked up. Russ is cooking. We have DK going off, who is currently a top 10 fantasy wide receiver. He is a wide receiver 1.
Loving that. You're loving that.
Loving that, man. Tyler Boyd is right outside. He's like wide receiver 13, I think, right now. So he is also close. So, again, for the brand, that is looking strong. We're not going to talk about my misses right now. But what are you guys doing? Devante Parker is really intriguing to me in this matchup. Are you really afraid of anything, I guess, is the better question for this matchup. Ben, you talked about Chris Carson. You're firing him up. Robbie, do you feel the same? Are you firing up Carson, or are you a little more hesitant on him? Because this spread is only 5.5 points, so they're expecting this to be a bunch of points, a bunch of back and forth. But Seattle not really running away with this, although they are favored on the road. So, is there anything? Excuse me. Is there anything that you are staying away from in this game if you have some of these pieces, Robbie? Yeah,
I talked earlier that the running back landscape is a little bit murky right now with Henry out, with Connor out. So you're looking at probably your running back 2, or if you have to throw in a flex, you're probably going to have to start Chris Carson. I honestly, I don't love it, but like Ben said, if you're looking for a touchdown guy, he'll probably get that. But he's already splitting work with Carlos Hyde, and that was before he had this MCL injury, and Travis Homer was getting some work too. So honestly, he's probably a low ceiling guy for me, but most people are probably going to have to start him. But yeah, let's talk about that passing attack. Jamal Adams is out. Quentin Dunbar is out for Seattle. So on that Dolphins side, Ryan Fitzpatrick is a top 10 play for me. I'm starting Parker. If I need Preston Williams, I'm also going to throw Preston Williams in there as well. And then on the flip side, Byron Jones is doubtful for the Dolphins. So you were obviously starting Lockett and Metcalf, but I think it just goes to show that they are going to score points even further. How about you, Ben? What are you thinking?
I think you could slide Gesicki in there as well on the Miami side. I mean, the Seahawks secondary is obviously banged up and hasn't been great even when they were healthy. So I think that there could definitely be some points scored on them, but I still think that the Seahawks are going to pull this out. I think I took it like -6 this morning. I can't imagine Russ losing to Fitzpatrick, even if it is a shootout. So I feel pretty good about that. On the Seattle side, I'm rolling out pretty much everybody over there. Lockett, DK, Chris Carson, Russ, obviously. I think that they're all smash plays. And honestly, I think this is going to be a fun game to watch. I think it's going to be an awesome game.
Yeah, there's just so many of these matchups that are just like, really? This one is 55.5?
Yeah,
so it's
a high line.
Hopefully this, especially for that team with Seattle traveling. So hopefully we get a lot of these, at least that approach these totals. We got Tim joining us in the YouTube chat. He wants to know Hunt or Mckinnon. Ben, I'll come right back to you with that one. Out of these two, obviously Hunt going up against the Cowboys, Mckinnon going up against the Giants. Who do you like out of these two?
Is McKinnon going against the Giants? I think McKinnon.
Philly. They were Giants last week.
Okay. I'm going McKinnon personally. The Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt split can really go either way any given week. I think it was last week we saw Hunt was relatively quiet until the fourth quarter, and then he suddenly started getting a ton of work. And Hunt is an explosive player, and he's fun to watch. He's amazing. He's very versatile. Obviously, a great pass catching back. But again, Cowboys defense, especially from a run side, is no joke. And the Eagles defense doesn't scare me as much, especially with the injuries to Mostert and Tevin Coleman on the 49ers side. I think that McKinnon should be in for a lot of volume, especially if Nick Mullins is going to be handing it off and checking down a little bit. So that's where I would go personally.
Yeah, I think this might be the first time we are on opposite sides here. The Eagles' front seven is actually does pretty decent, I think. So I might just fade McKinnon a little bit, especially if we're talking about Wilson getting in there and getting some work. Now Hunt, even though he's splitting time with Chubb, he is expected to play. He was a little bit questionable leading up to today, but he got 16 rushes last week. He's gotten double-digit rushes, and that's not even looking at his receiving game, which has actually been a little bit low. He's only gotten 2 receptions the last 2 weeks. But if we're talking about a game where they're playing that Dallas offense, which I think will score quickly, I think it's going to be more of a Hunt game than a Chubb game. If we're talking about that receiving, maybe the playing a little bit of a catch-up. So I do like his upside to get a lot of work in that game, but both of these guys I think are okay plays. Again, that repetitive broken record. You're going to be searching for running backs to play, and so I think you can start both of these guys.
Got a question from Mason in here. He needs 2 wide receivers and a flex out of this group. He has both Browns receivers with OBJ and Landry. Then he has Slayton, John Brown, Jeff Wilson, Mark Ingram. So again, we need 2 wide receivers and a flex. Robbie, I'm going to come to you since you were already talking about the Browns receivers. If you are picking from both, as Mason is, are you locking in Landry out of this group? And would you possibly think about starting both this week? How do you feel about this group that he has? So again, that's Odell, Landry, Slayton, John Brown, Jeff Wilson, Mark Ingram. 2 receivers and a flex out of that group.
Yeah, I'd like to pull the Kev here and say, we can keep on firing up Slayton, but tougher matchup against that Rams defense. And so I'm off on Slayton a little bit. John Brown is playing, but, I think Landry, obviously I said earlier, Landry's the guy I want out of those 2 slot wide receivers eat against the Cowboys. And then it's hard to sit OBJ in a matchup like this. I wasn't as high on him as Landry, but that doesn't mean that if you're looking at these list of guys that you can't start him, because you were just talking about that over-under was 55.5, I think, or 56. So the Browns are going to have to put up points, and I think that means that they're probably playing catch-up with the Cowboys. And so that's going to be hopefully, a decent target share for both of these guys, and I think they both have a good shot at finding the end zone.
Ben, out of the wide receivers, let's get those, and then we'll get his flex. What 2 wide receivers are you starting out of that group?
It feels dirty, but I'm going OBJ and Landry. I hate starting 2 receivers on the same team, but this should be a high-scoring game. And honestly, I can't make a case for putting Slayton or John Brown over either of them. So I'm rolling Browns heavy and hoping for a shootout.
Cross your fingers and hope for the. Yeah, I agree though. I think that is the right play. I'm on the same boat as Ben. It makes me a little queasy to start both. So hope that at least Landry blows up, and like whenever you combine their points, you're like, oh, okay. Well, if they both got me 13, that's a little bit better. So for his flex, are you guys rolling with one of these receivers, or are you taking a running back? I think I'm just going to throw Mark Ingram in there, the flex for the safety. As much as we want, especially at us dynasty folk, want J.K. Dobbins to be a thing, he simply is not that yet this year. That I think that was a long-term play whenever you took him in your rookie drafts, or if you got him as a Devy anyway with his landing spot. So I'm going to throw in Mark Ingram for the safety. Obviously going up against the Bengals, that's not a matchup that you're worried about. What are you guys doing for Mason and his flex spot? Ben, I'll let you go first.
I'm probably also going Mark Ingram. I can see a world where if you're projected to lose and you need a big splash play, a little boomer bust, you could go John Brown and hope for some like big plays out of him. But if you need a floor, and I think the safer pick is probably Mark Ingram.
Job, are you going for the clean sweep here?
Yeah, I'm not trying to advocate starting Mark Ingram because he's been behind Dobbins in snap share 2 out of these 3 games. So it's an absolute split there. So, man, and if you're attacking Washington, I don't think you're trying to attack. Now, obviously they have I'm blanking on the name. Is it Chase Young is out for the Redskins, or for the Washington football team, I should say. But I don't think you're trying to attack that defense by running the football too often, even though that's kind of the Ravens' bread and butter. I think they're hoping to bounce back after a rough game against the Chiefs. I hope Lamar Jackson will have a little bit better of a passing game in this one. So, yeah, I'm probably going Ingram, but, man, it does not feel good.
All right, for this next question, Darkson is in here and wants to know Greg Ward, Justin Jefferson, or Edelman. I will start by removing Edelman out of this. I'm just staying away from that because, like we said, we don't know if it's going to be Stid the Kid or Hoy the Boy out there chucking it around to the pass catchers. So for me, it comes down between those two. I think you guys are in the same boat. Are you going to me? Kind of what this comes down to is if you need the safe play, I would go Greg Ward. I so badly just want to be able to say, oh, it's Justin Jefferson. It's not close, but it feels super, super point chasey. And I cannot trust Zimmer to watch a rookie go off like that and just be like, you know what? Probably should just throw the ball a little bit more. Probably should just, open this up. They are going up against the Texans, Justin Jefferson, that is, and that game is at a 53.5 over under with a 3.5 point spread. I don't want to be point chasey, but I think I'm going to roll Justin Jefferson here. Ben, who do you like between Ward, Jefferson, or Edelman?
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think of it the same way you did, whether you need a floor or a splash play. But Justin Jefferson against the Texans, especially after the week that he had last week, is pretty attractive. So I'm going to go Justin Jefferson here.
Yeah, I'll flip the script. I mean, I think we're fading Greg Ward because of the name Greg Ward. I mean, he was 8 for 72 with a touchdown last week. They don't have anybody playing there. Goddard's out. Alshon's still out. Rager's out. D-Jax is out. We're talking about Greg Ward and is it John Hightower, right? I think Greg Ward is absolutely in play for 10 targets there. I think he's a much safer and, obviously we just saw Justin Jefferson's ceiling game, so I can't say he's a higher ceiling, but I think Greg Ward is going to be absolutely peppered where Justin Jefferson, if he ended up with a stat line of 3 for 33, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Yeah, for sure.
I can see that.
So you're plugging in Ward there, Robbie?
Yeah. I think you were talking about chasing points. I mean, Justin Jefferson against the Texans, that's not a bad matchup, but it seemed like a game where Thielen, didn't get a lot of targets. And if you're telling me who's going to get more targets more often, it's going to be Thielen. And I don't think this Vikings defense or this Vikings offense is going to be an offense that's throwing, 35, 40 times a game. So we're talking about, let's say, 12 to 14 targets between the two of them. I think Jefferson more often than not is going to be maybe at that 7 range. So it feels like a little bit chasing points, and I'd rather go Greg Ward, who's absolutely, the go-to probably in this wide receiver ranks for the Eagles as the only man left standing.
Philip is back. He also needs 2 wide receivers and a flex here. He has Julio, Thielen, Robinson, Montgomery, Slayton, 2 wide receivers and a flex. A question that I should know the answer to, but I do not, is Julio a go this week? I'm assuming he is if Philip is asking.
Limited practice the whole week. Expected to play, but we need to find out here. I believe, are they at 1 o'clock? No, they have the Monday game, aren't they?
Yeah, they're Monday night.
So, yeah, we probably won't know, but he's been a limited participant in practice the entire week. So I think that's a sign where I would probably expect him to play. But, yeah, I'm starting Julio there, and I'll probably go Thielen as the second wide receiver. And then Robinson, it's really hard to sit him right now. And if he's facing that Cincinnati defense, still no Geno Atkins, you can't sit James Robinson right now.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. If under the assumption Julio's playing, I'm rolling him out there. Thielen is a smash play, in my opinion, against the Texans. And then Robinson, whether it's James or Allen, I think that either way, I would play them over Montgomery or Slayton. So I'm going the same 3 as you. Clean sweep.
That was going to be my question, whether this is A-Rob or J-Rob.
I'm playing either of them over Montgomery and Slayton, personally.
There it is.
Yeah, obviously that would just change who you're putting in your – well, I guess not if you guys are going Julio Thielen, because I'd probably go Thielen, A-Rob, and then Monty in the flex. But I don't think you can go wrong either way. That like the Julio thing and the soft tissue, just like especially if that is A-Rob, I think you can feel super confident in just flipping over to Thielen and A-Rob and just kind of letting Julio just sit on your bench for a week. And if he goes off, like that's one of those situations where I'm fine with that. Like if someone like Julio goes off on my bench, but he's coming in, the hamstring injury, feels like he's been banged up since he came out of the womb. So that's just one of those instances where I would be okay there. But yeah, if that's James Robinson as well, it's 2020. A UDFA is now considered a must start. So that's the point that we're at.
How disrespectful is it of me to assume that a Robinson is James Robinson and not Allen Robinson? I think that is not.
Well, dude, whenever you said James, I was like, oh shit, did I miss?
He's hot in the streets right now.
Did I miss something? Did he say James? I was like, nope, he didn't. That's just that's Robbie just assuming that it's fucking James Robinson and Allen not even being a thought in his mind.
Looking on Twitter, I mean, would there be any other Robinson right now? I can't go through 3 tweets without seeing a James Robinson tweet. So
pretty sure
he's Robinson over 17.5 receiving yards today.
Sam jumping in. We already talked about this a little bit. Would you risk playing Tyreek? Absolutely. Again, I would be hitting up your commissioner and have them have a contingency plan in place where you can just put Tyreek in your starting lineup, but then have someone in queue just in case. But like Robbie said, there hasn't been any more positive tests coming out. So it seems like that they are set for Monday or Tuesday at worst. Hopefully it stays that way because, again, we thought we were getting that with the Steelers and Titans as well. So, but yeah, I would be throwing Tyreek in there. Sam also has another question: Justin Jefferson or Marquez, Valdes, Scantling? Robbie, I'll let you answer this one. Who you rolling? Are you chasing the points with Jefferson, or are you chasing the opportunity with MVS?
Yeah, I'll probably go MVS here. Just that Atlanta Falcons secondary cannot stop anybody, especially if we're talking about the second half of football. They seem to forget how to play football, that entire team. But again, Justin Jefferson isn't a good matchup against the Texans, but I will take MVS. He just seems like if Adams is still a little bit questionable. I think last week everyone was throwing in MVS, and we got burned a little bit because just that entire offense was focused on getting Lazard his touches there as MVS was covered a little bit by Lattimore. So I'm going back to MVS. I know it's odd saying start MVS over Justin Jefferson after last week, but I will go MVS there.
I'm personally going Jefferson. MVS has burned me way too many times. Every time I think it's a smash start, he bites me in the ass, and I just can't bring it back. Already went over why I love Justin Jefferson this week, so I'm rolling him out.
This one I'm going to throw to you, Robbie, since you are the you've become our defensive guy somehow, some way. That has happened this year. Mason wants to know: would you be confident starting the Seahawks defense?
Yeah, I mean, I have them as a top 12 defense. There probably will be a lot of points, like we talked about. They have no Jamal Adams, they have no Quentin Dunbar, so there's probably going to be a lot of points scored. But on the flip side, Fitzy can go full Fitzy and throw a handful of interceptions. I can definitely see that still happening. I don't love them, but I do. They somehow make their way into top 12 just based on the potential for turnovers.
Mason, I would hit us up and let us know what streaming options you have available to you that you could pick up off the waivers, because I don't think the Seahawks defense is a defense that you have to carry through the rest of the year. I think you can kind of just go week to week and stream, and you can find your streaming options at thefantasyauthority.com with Ben and Robby and Nate giving you. They are our hashtag stream team. So we'll have your quarterback, tight end, defensive streamers every week over there at the website. Our guy Earthly Links jumping in had to drop Alan Lazard because of the injury. That's last week was so tilting for me. Lazard goes off, and then he's like, you know what? I need to go out on a high note, so I'm gonna bounce out, guys. So wants to know, had to drop because of the injury. Full PPR: John Brown, Cooper Kupp, Terry McLaurin, or Greg Ward. Assuming he just needs one of these, who are you guys rolling with here? Or actually, let's do this. How would you rank these four, just in case he needs more than one?
Hey, I'm going to give Ben a little bit of time to think on this one because there's a lot of names. I'm going to jump back. I didn't give enough, I think, context because I think you brought up the flex options for defense, and that's really important to talk about. We wrote our article, and my team was the Rams. I think they're facing a Giants defense that Daniel Jones is a turnover machine. They're my number 2 DST this week, and then they give up 3 sacks a week in the Giants. So I think the Rams are a great streaming option if they haven't been picked up in your leagues. I think the Bucs are a great start against a Chargers defense that has Herbert's been throwing for a lot of yards. Their point total isn't quite high to match that, and then they're missing their left tackle and Brian Bulaga and their left guard and Trey Turner, so could see some more sacks for a Buccaneers defense that's already pretty good. But some lower down options, the Chiefs, it looks like they're going to be able to go on Monday. They're probably going to face Brian Hoyer or Jarrett Stidham, so I think the Chiefs are absolutely in play there. They're probably on your waiver wire. And then the Eagles. I know San Francisco has looked really good, but they've been playing the Giants. They've been playing the Jets. It's still a backup quarterback with Kittle and Mckinnon, a couple backup running backs here. So I actually like the Eagles. We're never in love with their defense, but I think they can do enough to keep it a low-scoring game there. So back to the original question. Hopefully I've given Ben enough time to go over these. How are you ranking these wide receivers?
For me, the number one guy I want out of this group is Cooper Kupp, especially against the Giants. I think he's a smash play. I think the Rams are going to run away with that game, and Cooper Kupp should get a good amount of work there. Number 2, I'm going Terry McLaurin. I don't love the matchup against the Ravens, but I think he's in for at least 8 targets, and especially in PPR format, if he's their only option, he could easily get more and just get the volume, even if it's nothing super flashy. 3, I'm going to go Greg Ward for a lot of the reasons that Robby, you kind of outlined earlier, like with Dallas Goedert out and Deshaun Jackson being Deshaun Jackson, having questionable soft tissue issues. I think that he's going to soak up some targets and should be a solid PPR option. And then I'll follow it up with John Brown. He's obviously a smash play, but in my mind, he's a little boomer bust, and especially coming off of a week with injury. I don't feel the need to start him.
Yeah, I might be the Greg Ward guy this week, apparently. I'm going Cooper Kupp number 1, but I'll go Greg Ward number 2. I also forgot to mention that J.J. Arcega-Whiteside is also very doubtful to play this week, so that is just another guy that is out. So.
Did that really matter, though?
No, yeah.
Good ghost.
Yeah, absolutely. He's missing whether he's on the field or not. But, yeah, Greg Ward, you get rid of the name bias that we have. He's in play for me. He's definitely a flex option.
Yeah, my top 3, I'll go there is going to be because he did drop that in his top 3. So McLaurin, Kupp, and Ward would be my top 3 with John Brown coming in 4th there. Meth is jumping in. DJ Moore, another Terry McLaurin question, or DJ Chark, full PPR. Robbie, throw that back to you. Who are you rolling with here out of these three for Meth?
Yeah, Mclaurin popping up on the injury report really late. It looks like he's going to go, but that's always a little scary. And then the Ravens secondary didn't look great against the Chiefs, obviously, but should look great against a Dwayne Haskins run offense. I don't really like Terry McLaurin this week, and I'm normally a Terry McLaurin guy, but that matchup is something I'm trying to avoid. So I will go DJ Moore number 1, and then DJ Chark, and then Terry McLaurin last there.
Fire!
Yes, bring the alarm.
I'm getting kind of sick of agreeing with you, Robbie, but I'm also going to go DJ Moore, Chark, and then Mclaurin. I think that Moore is going to get a lot of volume, especially against who are they playing? Cardinals. I think that should be a high-scoring game, and then Moore's going to soak up targets. And then I love DJ Chark. Like, he is one of my favorite players. I think he's going to have a great week, bounce back off of the injury, especially against the Bengals defense, which hasn't been great so far this season. So those are my two guys.
Jeff is jumping in with a non-PPR question. Greg Ward, Hunter Renfrow, or Traquan Smith. Just out of pure principle, I cannot play Hunter Renfrow. So I'm going to join Robbie with being the Greg Ward guy, and I will throw Greg Ward in a non-PPR situation. Ben, out of those three, who are you going? Ward, Renfrow, or Traquan?
I'm also going Greg Ward. Also surprised how much he's come up so far today.
This feels like a last man standing match. I mean, we have Greg Ward last man standing, Hunter Renfrow last man standing, Traquan Smith there. So he's got a last man standing match going on, but Greg Ward will be the number one guy there for me.
Jeff has another question. Robbie, coming back to you, since you're our defensive guy here on the morning shows. Which defense is the best option this week? Chargers, Vikes, Cardinals, or Texans?
Yeah, I still like that Chargers defense. They're obviously missing Derwin James out for the year, and then Melvin Ingram is on IR. So they have a couple of chinks in the armor there going against Tampa Bay, who's without Godwin and Leonard Fournette. So I think they stopped the run game really well. It's how much can Brady press it with Evans and Scotty Miller. So I still like the Chargers there. Let's see. Also has the Cardinals. There it is. I have the Cardinals above them. Teddy Bridgewater has been kind of a turnover machine there. There should be points going there, but if you're looking at who can get the sacks, who can get some turnovers, it's probably that Cardinals defense, and then the Chargers probably right behind them is how I have those ranked.
Got Ricky Blaze joining us in the YouTube chat. I can't believe this is a question. Not that you're not right for asking it, but the fact that it is actually a question, and you are right to be asking such a thing. Ricky wants to know Nick Mullins or Baker Mayfield. I already talked about Baker Mayfield being one of my favorite streams this week. In that matchup, I can't reach down and go Mullins here. So I'm gonna ride with Baker for one more week. If he can't put up more than like 20 points in this game, then I think I just have to be done with him for the year. But I do think this is a game that matches up very well for Baker and his pass catchers. What do you guys have to say on this one? Robbie, throw to you, Baker or Mullins?
Yeah, I'll go Baker there. If I like Landry, and I'm obviously willing to start OBJ as well, I got to go Baker. Mullins, again, they've looked good, but they've played Jets and Giants, and so those are not secondaries where it's going to make Nick Mullins look bad. So I will go Mayfield there.
I'm also going to go Mayfield, but Nick Mullins is definitely a startable play in my book this week, but not over Baker.
Ben, you had that look on your face. I was like, this motherfucker's about to say Nick Mullins. I was like, here it comes. Here it comes.
Maybe on my second time on the show. Get a little spice here.
So we just got news that Terry McLaurin is indeed playing. He kind of popped up on the injury report as questionable. He is in. what else are you guys looking for this week? Robbie, I'll give you some time to find out some more actives, inactives on the week. Buda Baker is out for the Cardinals. He's a man. If you play in IDP leagues, you know how fun Buda Baker is. He is so that sucks that he is out. He's just such a fun. He's almost like I don't even want to say a discount or a generic. He's like the name brand you don't know of, like a Jamal Adams-ish kind of player, just in terms of like where he's used, how he's used. He's flying all over the field. There's some help coming in for Minnesota. Cam Dantzler is back in, but I think it's going to be the first game he's played this year. Mike Hughes is still out. So, that's still not going to be anything. It's going to keep me away from I think we see Will Fuller pop off this game. I think this matchup sets up pretty nice for him. So I'm still not fading any of the Texans pass catchers. So again, it's nice for the Vikings that they are getting some help coming back on that defense, but nothing that's going to change any of my plays or ranks or anything like that for the week. We got JJ jumping back in the YouTube chat. Daryl Henderson or Todd Gurley? Again, I can't believe we are asking this question, but he is right to be asking it. So, Robbie, Ben, I'll throw it to you first. Are you going Henderson or Gurley here in this matchup?
Honestly, this hurts my soul to say because I absolutely love Todd Gurley and he's won me multiple fantasy championships, but I'm starting Henderson. I think he's a smash start this week, and I'm playing him everywhere I have. And I actually, in one league, am sitting Gurley and flexing James Robinson and Daryl Henderson, which feels dirty, but I'm doing it.
Yeah, I got to go with Daryl Henderson as well. That Giants defense is absolutely giving up points to the running back position. We like Daryl Henderson. He had 6 red zone carries last week, so obviously, there's still Malcolm Brown. They are splitting snaps. Their snaps are really close, but the work side is actually going a lot to Daryl Henderson. So I will keep him in over Gurley. I have him as a running back 13, so that's how much I like Henderson. He'll be a start in every question.
Ooh. Tim is jumping back in, wants to know Kyler Murray or Josh Allen at quarterback. We've talked about this a couple weeks in a row. Again, this is full 2020. We assume that the Bills were going to come in, just keep doing what they've been doing, but it doesn't matter if they're ahead, behind. It's a neutral game script. They're just letting Josh Allen just toss his ball all around the field. It's really hard to sit him. They are going up against Las Vegas, correct? Do I have that one right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Vegas they're actually giving up some of the fewest fantasy points per game to quarterback, but on the opposite side of that, they are also getting some of the least amount of pressure against quarterbacks. So Josh Allen should have that time to be able to run around, make plays, and do his thing. But out of these two, Ben, who are you going with here between Kyler Murray or Josh Allen?
This is tough. I actually have one league where somebody made this decision and they went Allen. But personally, I think I'm going to roll with Kyler Murray. I can't justify sitting him any week, really, even for somebody as good as Josh Allen.
If we get news that the D-Hop is either going to be limited or worse out, would that change your thought process there?
Yeah, I think so. I'm making the assumption that he's going to play. If he is not going to play, I might lean more on the Allen side, but honestly, Josh Allen is not one of my guys. He's a great fantasy asset, but I'm not huge on him as a real life quarterback, and therefore, I sort of want him to do poorly. So it hurts. It hurts to go with Josh Allen. But if D-Hop is out, I'm gonna roll out Josh Allen.
Tim, you're going to be fine either way. I mean, both of these defenses should be pretty attackable, I think, with either of these quarterbacks. I do like Kyler's rushing ability. Obviously, we know Josh Allen could run as well, but we're talking about which quarterback I think just has that absolute floor. Kyler's always giving you a really good floor and the rushing touchdowns. They both are, honestly. I can't argue one against the other. They're both great. I'll go Kyler by a hair.
All right, we talked about the Saints game a little bit earlier, just mentioned in passing, and now we have word that that Lattimore and Janoris Jenkins are both out for the Saints. So their top two corners are out. I think this is a game where you can fire up all of your Lions pass catchers. Hopefully Hawkinson gets some work, but obviously Galladay came back last week. He scored the touchdown. Marvin Jones hasn't. He's been a little disappointing just in the fact that like the first 2 weeks there was no Galladay, and he didn't do too much. But the 2 out of his 3 games he has gone over 50 yards. So I think you can fire up Marvin Jones in that flex spot and feel super comfortable about it. Let's talk about the Saints side of things. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk and chatter about Drew Brees kind of looking potentially cooked, maybe. I mentioned on the Prop Talk show that we recorded last night with Tom that Brees has the lowest intended air yards per pass attempt. So obviously you're firing up Alvin Kamara. He's one of those ones. Doesn't matter what matchup he's in. It doesn't matter if Michael Thomas is active or not. You're firing him up. But what are you guys doing with maybe some of these secondary Saints pass catchers? I was high on Manny Sanders coming into the year. That has not turned out well for me. I kind of thought he was going to be like a weekly wide receiver 3 play, and he hasn't even been that. What are you guys doing with like Traquan? Jared Cook is out as well, correct? So he's out. If you had to, are you firing up Adam Troutman, the rookie out of Dayton? What are you doing with these secondary pieces for the Saints?
Adam Troutman sighting. Let's go. Wow. No, I'm not starting up Adam Troutman. Probably. I will take the loss on that if he goes off for 2 touchdowns here. I think you can start Traquan Smith if you need to. He's right at the edge. I have him as wide receiver 36, so he's right on the edge there for me as a flex option. I like him better than Edelman, AJ Green. I actually like him better than Gage. If both of those, Ridley and Julio, are going up against the Packers secondary there, I have Gage a little bit lower than, as you know, Cody. I've been always hyping Gage every single episode we can, but I'll go Traquan as kind of that main pass catcher behind Alvin Kamara for Drew Brees.
Yeah, I think the pass catcher to own for the Saints right now is Kamara, and I really don't want to start anybody else. I will in a pinch Traquan Smith, but even then, I'd actually start Gage over him, even if Julio does play. So he's a last ditch effort on my end.
Will, I hope you definitely hit this with Marvin Jones being a guy who can go off for 3 touchdowns out of nowhere. And this game and this matchup is setting up as that this could be one of those just Marvin Jones weeks that keeps him as a top 24 fantasy asset by the end of the year. Just one of these blow up games. Sleepy Refresh wants to know Henderson or the aforementioned Gage flex PPR that you were just talking about, Robbie. Ben, we've all been talking about Henderson is kind of locked in. Are you putting somebody like Gage in over him? I'm assuming that means he has cleared the concussion protocol. Again, that's something I should know, but I do not.
He's been practicing. Yeah, he was a full practice.
All right.
Yeah.
Are you guys going to be throwing Gage in over Henderson in this instance, or are you just going to roll with Hendy?
I'm rolling Hendy, no question.
You know my answer, absolutely. Henderson for sure.
Robbie is starting Henderson over Alvin Kamara if you have to make that decision. Crescent Cannon wants to know, I have Ridley, but he's still questionable for Monday night. Should I replace him with Boyd and move Ayuk to my flex? Out of all the guys who've been getting hyped, all the rookie wide receivers who've been getting hyped, Ayuk didn't really have any talk that I saw last week, even though he had I think he found the end zone. I think he had, 70, 80 total yards, something like that. He had himself a nice game, but yet did not get any of the hype because that was stolen by Justin Jefferson and T. Higgins. But what are you guys doing with somebody like Ridley who is questionable? It's that Monday night spot, which is always a shitty spot to be in. Replace him with Boyd and move Ayuk to the flex, or what are you doing there?
Yeah, I think Ridley is.
Risk it. you got to risk it with Ridley. I don't know, Ben, if that's how you feel, but he's been practicing. He had limited sessions in this week. So whenever I see multiple limited sessions, I always see that as a more positive sign than if there was a did not practice or only one limited practice, something like that. So I think we can probably rely on all three of these wide receivers. Gage is for sure, but Julio and Calvin Ridley are still questionable. More likely than not, I think they will play.
I'm in the same boat. I think Ridley's trending towards playing, and if he's playing, I absolutely want him in my lineup.
Silver Simplex just asking about our thoughts on Josh Allen the rest of the season. Is he a top 3 quarterback? And with the way that he has started, even if he can continue like 75% of his play, that is absolutely within reason. I mean, if you're looking at their schedule for the rest of the season, there's nothing in here that, that really where he's going to have like a rough stretch of weeks unless he just decides to go 2019 Josh Allen on all of us. And even then, like Ben was saying, I'm in the same boat where it's just like, I feel awful saying it, but I kind of want him to come back down to earth. I kind of want to see a couple of games where he just looks like absolute garbage. But even whenever he's not being a good NFL quarterback, he's still been like a top 10 fantasy quarterback. I mean, they have the Titans. Who knows what's going to happen with that game? But after that, Chiefs, Jets, Pats, Seahawks, Cardinals, Chargers, 49ers, Steelers, Broncos, Pats, and they finish with the Dolphins. So there's really no stretch in there where I'm like, oh, he might be having a couple rough games. Other than maybe, I mean, if the Niners can get back to health and then they go, Niners, Bills, and Chargers Niners, Steelers, and Chargers in that stretch. But other than that, I think he's kind of locked into that top 3, top 5. Any different thoughts on that other than just wanting to see him fail, Ben?
I think he'll be top 5. I have a hard time putting him in top 3. I can't do it. I can still respect myself.
Yeah, I think we got to talk about how hot of a start he's gotten off to, and 2 of those starts were against the Jets secondary and then the Dolphins without Byron Jones, their top corner. So let's wait on his 8.8 touchdown percentage of passing. That is likely to regress. I'm still going to take Dak, Lamar, Mahomes over him. Russ is absolutely on fire. I'm going to take him over him. So honestly, if we find one more name, if I'm going maybe Kyler Murray, he might not even be my top 5, but he's definitely a start every week. He's a QB1, but this top 3, I think, is maybe being prisoner of the moment with some easy matchups. He obviously looked good against a tough Rams secondary, but I don't top 3 is way too rich for me.
I agree.
Follow-up question for Silver Simplex: Gibson, Ingram, or Gage in the flex? Who are you guys rolling with here? Ben, I'll throw this to you first. Are you going to go with one of the running backs here, or are you going to throw in Gage for the flex spot?
It's hard to know with Julio and Calvin both being questionable. If either one of them sit, I would start Gage. But with the assumption that they're both going to play, I'd probably go Ingram.
Who did you say you were starting? I missed that.
Ingram.
Yeah, I'm so hesitant on Ingram. He could end up with 7 rushes for 23 yards, and if he doesn't get in the end zone, I'm just so worried about Ingram. I know I was talking Gage down a little bit, but I just can't go with Ingram. I think Gibson's interesting, right? So if Mclaurin's a little bit banged up, but looking like he'll go, tough Ravens secondary, Haskins is looking rough. I think there might be a lot more shorter dump offs, maybe to Logan Thomas and Gibson. So if we're talking about a PPR league, I think he's there. But Gage, out of all of them, maybe has the highest ceiling, especially if we're talking about Julio or Calvin Ridley potentially having a surprise scratch. So I'll probably go Gage if I'm going ceiling. Man, this is tough. This one's tough, but Ingram's probably the last one for me, honestly.
Fair enough. I'm rolling him out and Myles Gaskin in one league, and it feels dirty and gross.
Whoa, I like Myles Gaskin. I
like him too, but it feels.
Yeah, it feels weird. It feels real weird. I'm weird.
Mommy Me wants to know what about Edelman? I think if you have a better position to put yourself in there, I would think about sitting Edelman just because we have no idea what that's going to look like. With as deep as wide receiver is, I would potentially even think about picking somebody off of waivers if you could do that and starting them over Edelman. Now, the thing that Edelman will have is obviously he's that consummate professional. He's a lunch pail guy. He's that security blanket out of the slot. So still going to be getting targets, but just with the absolute and let's not forget Cam was also late with that COVID news. So how much practice time has Edelman had with either of these other quarterbacks, I think, is something that we need to think about. So with that, I think if you have a better option, if you want to let us know what some of your options are, we can help you out there a little bit more. Meth is back, wants to know flex PPR, Kareem Hunt, Terry McLaurin, or Brandon Cooks. Ben, I'll throw this one to you first. Again, who are you rolling with out of these three for the flex spot?
I think I'm going to go with Kareem Hunt. I know that we talked a little bit earlier about how the Cowboys' run defense is pretty solid, but you made a good point that as far as like the Chubb versus Hunt game script goes, like this should be a Hunt game. And I don't love the matchup for Terry McLaurin this week, and Brandon Cooks is still a wild card in my mind. So I'm going to go with Kareem Hunt and hope that he puts up that consistency.
Yeah, Kareem Hunt for me as well. I talked earlier about what I think the game script will be against the Cowboys. And even if it doesn't quite go that way, Hunt's had double-digit carries in every single game so far this season. He is a top 15, 16, 17 running back for me.
Man, Johnny Maz just absolutely loaded here at wide receiver. Needs 3 out of this group. This is an embarrassment of riches. Good for you, Johnny. Galladay, DK, D-Hop, or Ridley. Woo!
The definition of a good problem to have.
Yes, this is hashtag first world problems here. Out of those 4, man, who do you sit? Who's the guy that you're sitting here? Because that's really what he needs to know. Who are you putting on the bench out of this group? Obviously, I think for me, just for safety purposes, because there's no questionable tags, Galladay and DK are locked in, and that's going to come down between D-Hop and Ridley. So we talked about Ridley getting in limited practices all week. Robbie, I believe you said D-Hop has not practiced all week. You were mentioning that before we went live. So between D-Hop and Ridley, unless you're going to sit one of these other guys, which, like I said, I would not be doing, out of those 4, which one are you sitting?
Yeah, Hopkins is active, so after a little bit of worry there, he will be active for the game. Now, is he limited at all? I can't tell you whether that's going to happen or not, but I'm going to have him as a top 5 play. I'm going to have Galladay without Lattimore and Janoris Jenkins. Galladay is a top 3 play for me. I think he's absolutely a smash with Stafford. And we haven't talked about Matt Stafford, but if you can find a way to start Matt Stafford in your lineups, I'm absolutely in on Matt Stafford. DK against that Dolphins secondary without Byron Jones. I'm probably going to sit the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy football through 3 weeks, and that is hot take, I feel like. But you don't have to worry about if he'll play, he won't play. He's the Monday night game. I'm going to start those first 3 guys and feel absolutely comfortable with them all being top 10 wide receivers for me. Just an absolute embarrassment of wide receiver riches for him.
This one's tough. Galladay is my number 1 here. DK, I'm also locking in. D-Hop being active makes me want to start him, but I'm worried about the limited snap share, especially with like his practice trends this week. I might go Ridley. There's added risk with the Monday night game, and so if that's something you're not willing to stomach, I totally get it, especially because he could be a last-second scratch, and then you're kind of like out on the streets and screwed. But I do love Ridley, and I think he's going to be a smash play if he does start.
If we take the injuries aside, then let's say they're both for sure starting, and Cody answered this too. Like, obviously we've seen Ridley go off. I think there's going to be some Julio games mixed in, so I don't know if Ridley is absolutely the guy we've seen so far. He's going to be obviously much better than some people were calling him a wide receiver 1. I definitely wasn't there, but he has shown that he is a wide receiver 1. If they're both healthy, there's no issues. Who do you just like just rest of season? I mean, Hopkins hasn't looked bad in his own right. Do you have a feeling one way or the other?
I think it's going to be Hopkins. I think that Julio is going to come back into getting his own and eating. It's just they're going to have to stop. Like, I think the defense, they're going to have to stop paying so much attention to Julio, because Calvin Ridley has proven to be such a weapon on his own, and Russell Gage has come into his own as well. So I think that gets spread out a little bit more out of how it's looked the first 3 weeks. And I think D-Hop is kind of the only real option in town for the Cardinals. The offense runs through him outside of Kyler's legs.
Yeah, that is not a decision I want to make, but if I'm being forced to make that decision right now, I will also side with D-Hop. It's just so hard to fade what he has done over the past several years. And I mean, even going back to his early years in Houston, where he is the definition of quarterback proof, right? Like it didn't really matter. Didn't really matter who was throwing him the ball. He was still putting up points. We have a little bit of a surprise inactive. Robby is telling us that Carlos Hyde is out for this game. So does that make you feel better about, and then Jake, we'll jump into your questions here after this. Does that make you feel any more confident in Chris Carson with Hyde being out? Like, does that change your thoughts on Chris Carson at all with firing him up in this matchup, even though he had that knee sprain that we thought was going to be worse than what it was?
I'm firing Chris Carson up whether or not Carlos Hyde is in, but this just locks it in for me.
Robby is shaking his head yes. Robby, I'm going to come to you for this one since you are the Dallas homer. Jake wants to know Schultz or Gronk in a full PPR.
Do I get all of the Blake Jarwin credit with how Dalton Schultz is performing, or does that not transfer over? Because I was all in on Blake Jarwin for the reasons that we're seeing that's happening with Schultz. Just the Dallas offense was going to be throwing a ton. They threw over 600 times last year. Defense got worse. Dak got more weapons. Mike McCarthy comes in. So this is not close to me. If we're talking about full PPR, Gronk is kind of that maybe he scores a touchdown. That's the only reason I'd start him. Against the Chargers defense, I think that's maybe a little bit less than other matchups. So this is not close to me. I think I have Schultz as tight end 13. Probably not high enough, but this is for sure Schultz for me.
I'm also going Schultz, and it hurts my heart a little bit, but I actually think that I would even start O.J. Howard over Gronk in their own offense.
Yes.
It is a good sign, obviously, last week that Gronk's route participation and his targets did tick up. But again, that's one of those things where I think you can feel safer going with the Cowboys backup tight end over Gronk there. Jake has a couple more questions for us, and then we're going to jump over to Chris. Would you pick up Brian Hill or Jamal Williams to have on your bench as someone to pivot off of Clyde Edwards-Helaire if he were to go down with an injury? Which out of those two, who do you like better as the current handcuff?
I like Brian Hill. I actually think that he's actually been getting a little bit of work even with Gurley in. And Gurley, who, as the whole world knows, has arthritis knee problems and could end up missing time at some point. I think that's a smash pickup as opposed to Jamal Williams, excuse me.
Robby, you going Brian Hill or Jamal Williams?
Man, if he's just talking about this week, and if CEH is going to be out just for this week with the Monday game potentially being postponed, I suppose it's Brian Hill. But if we're talking long-term, if Gurley were to go down, I think Ito Smith has been getting snaps and carries in that offense. I think it'd be more of a committee, whereas I think if Aaron Jones went down, they keep on rolling out Jamal Williams. Like they really like him. They're throwing passes to him. A.J. Dillon will get more work, obviously, but if we're talking season long, I'd prefer to have Jamal Williams over Brian Hill, who was the slowest touchdown I've ever seen in my life. Like, had a great week last week, but he is nothing special in my eyes. So I will go Jamal Williams long-term, Brian Hill for this week.
Matt Ryan or Stafford?
Absolutely Stafford for me. Fire him up.
Stafford as well.
Terry McLaurin, MVS, or Greg Ward in a full PPR? I will throw that back to you, Ben. Who are you going with here between these three? Seems like we've had a lot of iterations of these three guys. Now we get them all in one question. Who are you rolling with?
Robby's probably going to disagree with me, but I'm going Terry, then Greg, then MVS.
Robby, what say you here? I think your order is going to be all switched up on that one.
I have Terry McLaurin as wide receiver 24, so I should be saying Terry McLaurin. We know his upside, but that matchup, I want to stay away from that matchup. I'm going to go Greg Ward. I'm going to be a little risky. It doesn't even it sounds risky, but I think Greg Ward is just in a much better spot and the only guy in town. I'll go against my rankings for the first time.
Your rankings are meaningless.
They absolutely are. When you get push comes to shove, and you're on the spot, live in front of hundreds and thousands of people. We are international, right? We had a question from
last week from Mexico. Yeah,
Mexico. Okay, yeah. So this international, critically acclaimed show. I'm going to go against the rankings.
We just need to get David Berger on here so we can say we have a critically acclaimed Emmy award winning show, because I think that's the way that transfer works, right? If we have an Emmy award winner on the show, that makes us Emmy award winners. I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
Also, quick side point. I think that the conversation of rankings versus who you actually start isn't as clear as a lot of people think that it is, because a lot of it depends on certain situations. Like if you're projected to lose, you might start somebody who's a boom or bust play that's 10 players behind. So rankings are a general guideline and are used directionally, but you got to know your team best and your situation best, and you got to make smart decisions on top of that.
Chris wants to know, need some help here. Pick 2, McKinnon, Hollywood, CD, full PPR. So out of those 3, who are you sitting? I'm going to lock in CD Lamb, obviously, in this matchup. It looks like you guys agree. So out of the 2, who are you sitting between McKinnon and Hollywood?
I'm starting McKinnon, and it feels like I love Hollywood Brown, but he hasn't been what we hoped that he would be so far this season. And until they figure it out as like a passing offense, I'm not super confident rolling him out there, whereas McKinnon's going to be guaranteed to get volume. So I'm going him.
Robbie, are you fading McKinnon again, or are you rolling with Hollywood? I knew, man. We kept on saying, we kept on putting other people above him. We were okay with McKinnon as a flex, but it just seemed like last show we were pushing McKinnon down. I said, we're going to get burned by this. And, he had a pretty good game. I'm going to go Hollywood Brown. I'm trying not to react too much to one single game. And I think the Ravens looked horrendous with their passing offense, but we came in thinking that Mark Andrews is going to be a beast. Hollywood is going to always be a threat to take it to the house. And the Washington football team secondary, if you're trying to attack them, I think you do it through the air. And so I will have him over McKinnon. PPR doesn't really change too much. We know that they don't pass enough to make Marquise Brown a 8-9 reception guy, but he probably will have more receptions than Jerick McKinnon.
Coop Dog jumping back in wants to know Daryl Henderson or Adam Thielen. Robbie, I'm going to throw this one to you as you cringe. You were talking earlier about, hey, no matter what the question is, it's Henderson. You can just skip me. It's whatever. What are you doing here, sir? I'm going to put the feet back to the fire here again. Who are you rolling with between Henderson or Thielen?
Coop Dog, find a way to start them both. This is too good for both of them. Man, I'd really want to start Henderson, honestly. Like I'm kind of going back on what I said before, that if we're looking at a Vikings wide receiver that's going to probably have a majority of the target share, it's going to be Thielen more often than not. He's a top 10 play for me at wide receiver, but man, I love a good running back who's going to get 20 carries, have some goal line work, smash matchup against the Giants. I'm going to go Darrell Henderson again.
Ben, what say you? You going Henderson or Thielen in that spot?
I'm going Henderson. Like, this is probably the one that I had the hardest time deciding on. I think that Thielen's a great play this week, but Henderson's getting the work, and the Rams love to give it to the running backs in the red zone. So I got to roll him out there and be confident with it.
Yeah, Coop. I see he has another question here. See if you can let us know if you can find a way to start them both, because that'd be the play that we'd like to do, is get them both starting for your lineup.
Here we go. Some James Robinson heat. Who are we rolling with here, boys? Jonathan Taylor or James Robinson? I think James Robinson has the better matchup, but Jonathan Taylor has the pedigree. He has everything that we wish with the way everyone's talking about James Robinson, that's the way we thought we were going to be talking about Jonathan Taylor, but it's simply not. Who are you guys rolling with here? Ben, I see you're having an issue. You look at a loss for words. So I'm going to put you on the spot first. You going JT or J-Rob?
I'm going to go James Robinson, and I love Jonathan Taylor. I have bought him in every dynasty league that I can. Like, he is one of my favorite guys, but like, James Robinson has looked legit. He's been getting the work. He's been involved in the passing game, and against the Bengals defense, like, I think he has a better matchup, and he could eat this week. So rolling him out there.
Yeah, you hit it on the head. Better matchup. He doesn't have to face the Bears defense, who are finally getting healthy. They've missed Robert Quinn. They've been banged up a little bit. So Chicago defense, I really like that defense. It's a low over under for that Indy Chicago matchup. So a little bit lower on Jonathan Taylor, actually outside my top 12. He's below James Robinson. And then Jonathan Taylor's snap percentage, it's an absolute committee right now. He had 40% of the snaps. Hines had 33%. And then Wilkins had 28%. So if you're talking about the guy versus the guy splitting carries in a tougher matchup, it's pretty simply James Robinson.
Yeah, we had somebody jump into the Fantasy Authority DMs and ask that same question. And I also said J-Rob. And that is my child meowing like a cat. Brad Cush wants to know Adam Thielen or Justin Jefferson. Ben, I'm going to come back to you on this one since we're kind of on the same side with Justin Jefferson here. But between these two, are you going with the safety of Thielen, or are you going with are you chasing that upside that Justin Jefferson showed us last week?
I am a huge Justin Jefferson fan. He was my favorite receiver coming in this year in the rookie class. But I mean, you can't not start Adam Thielen over him at this point. One big game doesn't mean that he's the guy to own there. So I'm going Thielen, not thinking twice about it.
Robbie, you also rolling Thielen?
Yeah, Justin Jefferson looked great. Love it. Have him on your bench in this scenario. Better games to come for sure, but you can't start him over Adam Thielen. No way.
I mean, would have really surprised us this week if it was Adam Thielen who went 7 for 150 and a touchdown. I mean, that's well within his range of outcomes as well. We have OG Gaming here, has 2 questions. Let's start off with this one. Half PPR. My God, this is so. I don't even want to ask this question. This is very painful to my soul. Joe Mixon or Myles Gaskin? Ben, I will throw it to you. My answer is going to be Mixon. I can't. I'm staying on here so that at the end of the year, whenever he's putting up his RB6 overall points for like a 4-week stretch, I can be standing there welcoming everybody back in. But are you going? You were talking about you're starting Gaskin this week in a spot. Would you start Gaskin over Mixon?
I wouldn't. Mixon hasn't been anything special so far this year. I don't think he's broken 11 fantasy points in half PPR. And no, he hasn't. He hasn't been pretty, but I still think that he's the more talented player. And against the Jags, I think that he can do some magic. So crossing my fingers. I really want to see him bounce back.
Robbie, you were talking about we're fading these guys because of names. Are you fading the big name for Gaskin here?
I think I would. I had a tweet earlier that,
wow,
Joe Mixon's 2020 is actually better than it was in 2019. So for how poorly he's playing, he was even worse through 3 weeks last year. And he ends up just rocking it from weeks, 9 to 17 last year as the running back 3. So I think you can still start Joe Mixon in a good matchup. So I'm starting Joe Mixon over Myles Gaskin. I'm not sure if it sounded like I was going otherwise, but
it did.
Yeah, I thought you were too.
If this is a tougher matchup for Joe
You're
Mixon, I probably would sit him. I do like Myles Gaskin's involvement in the passing game. Half PPR, it probably doesn't matter quite as much, but Joe Mixon against the Jacksonville Jaguars defense, who made Myles Gaskin look really good on Thursday night, I think I'm going to go with the talent that I know is there that hasn't quite shown itself yet.
Yeah.
You hung it out there like a raw piece of meat and then just yanked it away. I also thought you were going Gaskin there, and I was going to have to kick you off the show. His next question, Brees or Brady? I'm going Brady here. What say you fellas?
Tom Brady. Let's go.
Robbie, clean sweep?
Yeah, but I don't love it. He's missing Godwin. The Chargers are still okay defensively. I have them both outside QB1. I Breeze one spot above Brady, so I'll go back to sticking with the rankings. I'll go Brees there. Detroit does have a Desmond Trufant back. I think that is worth noting. He had been either in and out or missing the last 2 weeks. So now they'll have Okudah and Trufant starting. So with Brees' weapons missing, you can definitely start Brady over him. I'm not high on either.
Coop Dog wants to know Greg Ward, Adam Thielen, or McKinnon at flex. Ben, are you going back to the guaranteed touches here with McKinnon, or are you going to go with Thielen?
This is Coop responding now. So if we wanted to sit Thielen, I think this is where we're able to get Thielen in his starting lineup. He responds farther down. He can start two of them. I should start Thielen at receiver over Cooper or Ridley, and then Henderson at flex. Yeah. Oh, man. Gosh, I don't know how he sits any of these guys, man. I guess that's the new question, right? Like we'd want Thielen over McKinnon and Ward at flex, but then as his receivers there, sounds like he also can start Henderson at flex. Man, this guy has too many good matchups, too many good starts this week.
Seriously.
It's mind-boggling me, Coop, but I'll go Henderson at your flex, and you still have to keep. Do you maybe start Thielen over Ridley, guys? What do you think there for the wide receivers? How do you rank Cooper, Ridley, and Thielen? Because those are his wide receivers.
Man, I think with the safety of Cooper and Thielen, you could. What has been the practice report on Ridley all week, Robbie? I'll let you look that up. But man, that's difficult.
I'm almost tempted to start Ridley and Thielen and sit Amari.
Oh no, baby! What is you doing? You're gonna sit Coop? Is that just is that also a feeling of like you hate Amari Cooper? You've been burned by him too many times, so you want to see him fail like Josh Allen? What's the deal here with sitting Coop?
So I'm not an Amari Cooper guy. I think this is a great matchup for him. But I think he's a talented player. Like I can't knock that. But I think that Thielen could be a smash play, and if Calvin Ridley plays, I think he's a smash play. Cooper has put up in half PPR at least 13.1, 13, and 13.1 for the first 3 games. I think he beats that this week, but I think that there's a pretty good chance that Thielen and Ridley can put up more than that. So I'm tempted to sit Amari here.
It's tough to sit Amari because we've talked about the Dallas is just throwing the ball all over the place, and I think he's gotten 9 or more targets each. I think he had 11 1 week, 9 2 weeks ago, and then 14. His targets are all over the place in a really good spot. So it's really tough for me to sit Amari Cooper as the number 1 pass catcher there. If he finds the end zone with that target share, I mean, we're talking about
big numbers.
We're saying the same thing with these other guys, right? So, man, if Ridley is playing, which I looked it up, he's had limited practice on Friday and Saturday, so 2 straight days of limited practice. If you want to avoid just having Ridley as a late scratch, just go Thielen Cooper. I think they're both in good matchups. I think they're both going to have heavy target share. Again, you're sitting the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy so far, so that doesn't feel great. But again, I think there's going to be a Julio game coming over Ridley. So I probably will sit Ridley in this situation.
Yeah, I think the other 2 receivers are both close enough that like I wouldn't feel like it does feel gross sitting the number 1 overall receiver, but like it's not a reach to do that. You're not talking about like, oh, I'm worried I just picked this guy up off of waivers. I think you can roll with Cooper and Thielen and feel okay about having Ridley sitting on your bench. Brad Cush wants to know Jefferson over Adams this week. That is a no for me, dog. What say you guys?
Can't do it.
Like we were just talking about it. It's the talent is there for Jefferson. He was a big name coming into this year, but like it will be worth watching how his snaps are split, because last week when he blew up, he played the majority of his snaps from outside, where it was flipped from the previous week. So that's going to be something to monitor. But as long as Adams is going to be a go, I can't sit him for Jefferson, especially with Lazard now out. Mr. Miles wants to know, in a half PPR needs one here. Again, another embarrassment of riches at the wide receiver position. A-Rob, Bobby Forrest, Justin Jefferson, DJ Chark. So we have three of our favorite receivers here between three of us. I love A-Rob. Robbie is the Bobby Woods guy. Ben, you were talking about being a Justin Jefferson fan and also loving DJ Chark. Who are you guys going here? What I want to know is, how do you just need one of these? Would be my question. Who else are you rolling out there? I would love to be able to find a way to fit one of those guys in a flex spot. Maybe I am going to go. Oh my God, I can't even say it with confidence. Do either of you guys feel strongly about a take here? Because I immediately want to go A-Rob, but Robert Woods is obviously he's putting together at. Oh, don't mind me. Just my cats destroying each other.
Yeah, I'll jump in here,
please,
Cody.
Please.
I think Justin Jefferson is we're chasing how great of a week he had. He is not in this consideration for me. I mean, I have A-Rob as a top 10 play, Robert Woods right outside there. Chark, man, he kind of seems tough to trust, but I still think he's a different tier than Justin Jefferson. Really, the question for me is between A-Rob and Robert Woods. I think they both can be really, really good for your team, so I'd go one of them for sure. I have A-Rob a little bit higher, so I will go A-Rob, but I can go either. As the guy who loves Bobby Woods, I can go either guy there.
So I actually love all four of these players. Like, these are four of my favorite guys, and I have all of them in a lot of places. I'm going A-Rob here for sure in my mind. Robert Woods is a close second, but not close enough where I really think it's a conversation for me. I think that the Rams are going to stomp on the Giants, and they're going to switch to the run game earlier on than we really think. And Robert Woods just won't get as many looks as he would have in a closer game. And A-Rob benefits from having Nick Foles in a QB. So I'm rolling out A-Rob everywhere I got him.
I will also go A-Rob there. Like, so that's the one I wanted to just fire off, but then I was like, all right, just reel it back in, maybe not, but I'm going to stick with A-Rob. Rahul wants to know here, Chark or MVS. Ben, I'll throw that one back to you again, since you are the Chark stand here this morning. Who are you going with between Chark and MVS?
I'm going Chark, no question.
Agree.
Noah wants to know, should I risk starting Mahomes or start Fitzpatrick? Again, I will say the same thing I've been saying all morning. That shouldn't even be something you have to worry about. That should be something your commissioner is taking care of. But if not, I think you can still fire up Mahomes. It seems like we are going to be okay with that game. But obviously Fitzpatrick, that's not a bad second option to have there. But I think you're okay with going Mahomes. Do any of you guys feel differently there?
I feel pretty good about the games happening, so I'm playing Mahomes.
So this is a follow-up to Miles, who had A-Rob, Woods, Jefferson, Chark. Said Thielen and Parker are the others, so it could sit Parker for one of those other four. Are you sitting Parker to put in either? So we already mentioned we want to go Robinson there. Are you sitting Parker to go Woods or Jefferson or Chark?
And I can't sit Parker. They are absolutely going to be trying to keep up with Russ. That Seattle secondary, which is already 31st. I think they're 32nd against wide receiver, 31st against quarterback. So they're just absolutely terrible. They now are out Jamal Adams, who strained his groin, and Quentin Dunbar is still out. You cannot sit Devante Parker. That's tough.
I want to sit him for Robert Woods, but I can't do it.
Yeah, right? Like,
it's tough.
That is
the matchup is too good. Like, they're going to be chasing points, and they're going to be throwing the ball to Devante Parker. That just has to be what happens. I think short of an injury, he's a smash.
And even if Fitz goes out and throws 2 or 3 picks, he's just coming right back out and just chucking that ball anyway. So I think you can safely go. You can keep Parker in there. Man, that is a nice problem to have there, Mr. Miles. There wasn't anything going on with Kelsey on an injury report, correct?
There's not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so yeah. Again, if this is just in reference to the to the COVID situation. We think that this game is going to be played, if not Monday, then definitely Tuesday. There haven't been any more positive tests that came back for that. So I think you are safe to throw in Kelsey. Matthew Noto wants to know, would you guys we already went over this one. Does full PPR switch change your guys' opinion on J-Rob over Taylor? We had the same exact question earlier, Matt, and we all three of us went James Robinson. The full PPR isn't going to sway either of you, is it?
Probably helps James Robinson, honestly.
Yep. So go ahead and put James Robinson in there. Sam is back in the chat, joining us on YouTube. Wants to know MVS, Ward, Jefferson, or Gage. Again, a bunch of guys you've probably picked up off of waivers over the past 2 weeks. Who are you guys rolling with here out of these four? And then Sam, let us know, do you just need one of these?
Going on the Ward train for this one.
Waiver game strong for Sam. Like, these are not anybody that you probably drafted, maybe Justin Jefferson, but very active waiver game. I really like it. I will go Greg Ward out of those four.
All right, looks like we are rolling Ward here. Coop Dog just throwing out all possible scenarios. Could also have Cooper, Thielen as receivers, or Ridley as the flex. And Sam did just need one, so we're going to go Ward there. Coop Dog, honestly, my piece of advice here is going to be to try to take a couple of your players that you were having these questions with week in and week out, because you're just going to keep having this headache. And even with all the COVID stuff going on, I would try and take maybe two of those guys, package them up, and reach up and try and get it's not like you don't have top tier guys, but reach even higher. Aim for higher heights with your group here. I would try and package some of these guys, because if your team is this strong, there has to be somebody else in your league who is struggling a little bit. Maybe has that one stud that's kind of holding their team together, and you can give them, it could be a mutually beneficial trade for both of you guys, because these are very difficult questions that you're going to be faced with, like I said, on a weekly basis.
Yeah, I think he can definitely look at trading Daryl Henderson. I know that was one of his flex options. I think Daryl Henderson's going to have another great game here, but eventually Akers is going to come back. Sean McVay said he wanted a committee backfield. I think they're going to work in Cam Akers. So after what I expect Daryl Henderson to have a really good game against the Giants, I would try and package him with maybe somebody else. And if you're maybe a little bit weaker, because you're so strong at your running back and wide receiver, maybe try and upgrade your quarterback. I don't know who your quarterback is. Maybe your tight end. Can you get a top 3 tight end? Kelsey Kittle, Andrews. Can you get a top, if you're kind of streaming quarterbacks, can you get a Kyler? Can you get a Dak? Something like that. Maybe try
Kamara.
and upgrade. Yeah, maybe try and upgrade some of those quarterback or tight end positions.
Yeah, hopefully Henderson goes off. Package Henderson with one of those wide receivers, and go big game hunting, as I like to say whenever I'm packaging up players like that in my dynasty leagues. I like to pull out the big guns and go big game hunting. So that's what I will look to do. Blue Crew joining us again. Thanks for jumping in, Blue Crew. In place of Godwin, who should they start? Hollywood, John Brown, or T. Higgins? 10-team PPR. Who do you guys like out of this one? We were talking about chasing points with Justin Jefferson. Could say the same thing here for T. Higgins after last week putting up 2 tuts. Who are you rolling with here between Hollywood, John Brown, or T. Higgins? Ben, I will throw that one to you first.
I don't feel comfortable chasing points on T. Higgins just quite yet. I'm going to go Hollywood Brown, then T. Higgins, and then John Brown for this one.
Yep. Fire up Hollywood there.
We are closing in on our 12:30 time here. We appreciate all you guys jumping in. These are always fun. This is what I look forward to most during the week, to be completely honest. A Machine 35, we're going to go rapid fire here. OBJ, AJ Green, DJ Chark. I'm going to go OBJ there. Ben, are you going to go OBJ, or are you going to stick with your boy DJ?
I'm going OBJ, Chark, Green.
Rob, you feel the same?
Yes.
We're gonna have to have a talk about AJ Green soon.
Yeah,
we're nearing the end here, or else I would talk about, maybe it's time to put him at the end of your roster until we actually see something out of him. Noel is back. I will be completely honest. I have no idea who the kickers play for. That is not something that I truly pay attention to. So if either of you guys have a stronger feeling on this with Sly or TFA'er Ben, who you guys rolling with here at the kicker spot?
this is Panthers and Texans, right?
Yeah, Texans for TFA'er Ben, and then Sly for Carolina Panthers. Let's educate Cody on his kicker game here, and
Please.
I will go TFA'er Ben there for the Texans. I think they're just going to put up points, and the Vikings can put up points as well. So give me him over Carolina's kicker.
Yeah, I agree. That's now that I know, I feel comfortable in my answer of TFA'er Ben. So we'll roll TFA'er Ben there. Ben, I'm going to throw this one to you. George Lou wants to know Robert Woods or Chris Carson.
Love Carson, but Robert Woods is the safer player.
Agree there. My God, Coop Dog, this is.
Who are you playing against? Are you the fantasy god?
This is an 8-team league. It has to be. No,
This is outrageous.
Coop Dog drafted well. This could be a 12, maybe even 14, but he is crushing it.
I want this team.
Yes.
Yeah. See,
Can you bring him on the show? Have him tell everybody else advice on how to run fantasy football.
I've said this before too. Like there are definitely fantasy snobs out there who look at that and be like, 8-team league, try and shit on you. You try and make these decisions every single week. Like I think this is where like an 8-team league is fun and has its merits. Like what's the other option? Like if you can't get 10 or 12 people, you're just not going to play because you only have an 8-team league. You try and make these decisions every week. My child agrees. He is very excited for your team, Coop Dog. Zach wants to know, needs to bench one of these. We have Ridley, Moore, Woods, Galladay. Who are you guys going with here out of that group? Who are you benching?
Probably, man. Guys, I might bench DJ Moore there against the Cardinals. I'm not about the shadow game. I don't think Patrick Peterson will shadow at all, but I might bench DJ Moore there.
I think I might go Woods, but it's tough. I could see it's Moore or Woods in my mind. I think Ridley and Galladay are locks, but I think I'm going to bench Woods.
Coop Dog, let us know how many teams are in your league. Zach, we are not going to be helpful for you at all because I would also bench DJ Moore out of that group. We got a trade question here from A Machine. We're going to finish up with these last couple of questions. Mixon, Green, and Ingram for Hopkins, Chubb. Is that if you were getting Hopkins and Chubb, that is a smash for you. That is not a great trade for the other person. So I hope you were getting Hopkins, Chubb. If you were getting that, do that now and hope that they don't revoke that by the time that you hear our answer. Ray Gamer, should I start Dalton Schultz versus the Browns, Tonyan versus the Falcons, or Mo Alley Cox? Again, that waiver game strong here. I will answer for Robbie, and I will say Dalton Schultz and a standard. Ben, who you rolling with?
I'm going Dalton Schultz too.
Last one here from Jeremy Mendoza. Who should I bench? Taylor, Henderson, or Davis?
Oh, Lord. Can we say bench Jonathan Taylor?
In standard, I'm benching Davis. In PPR, I'm benching Taylor.
Yes, I agree 100%.
See, look at that. We get a way to hedge. And, oh, God, what did he touch? Okay. All right. So that is going to wrap it up for us, guys. We really appreciate all of you jumping in. We will have the waiver show at some point. Like I said, two of the three out of our hashtag stream team are joining us for the first time. That is Ben anyway. Ingram and Chark or Green for Diggs and Hunter Henry. Do you guys have any feelings on that one?
This is another trade from a machine. I like your other trade better. Do your other trade.
Way better.
Yes, I
think I would hold on to Mixon, Ingram, and Shark.
That second one.
All right, last one, and I swear we are wrapping. This always happens. Alberto, Robbie Anderson, the Panthers wide receiver 1, Myles Gaskin, or Brandon Ayuk in the flex.
Gaskin's getting Seattle for me.
It's tough for me. I lean Robbie Anderson, but I wouldn't fault anybody for going Gaskins.
Yeah, I like Robbie Anderson there as well. So again, we're gonna sign off. The streaming articles will be out on Tuesday for you guys. The waiver article as well, the waiver video as well. So make sure you guys are keeping it locked in here. If you were joining us for the first time and you appreciated any of this advice, please make sure to smash that subscribe button. You can find Ben on Twitter at BenLK_FF. You can find Robbie on Twitter at NFLRobbie. You can find myself on Twitter at CKutzerFF. Hope you guys have a great week 4, and we will talk to you guys soon. See ya.